there, guys, this is me, Malorian, and it's time for this new season of something we are going to be calling Malorian Weekly. This is where I'm going to be doing at least one video a week, talking about tactics, casters, things going on, and like I said, Season 1, Episode 1, we'll see where this goes in 2020. Now, we want to start off this year right, we want to start off with a bang, and so I thought the best topic to just hit right off the bat is Magic going to die in 2020? Here we are, coming to this new year. Are we in trouble? Is Warmachine, is this the year that the tombstone is being chipped away, and that's it for Warmachine? That's it, all your models are useless, throw them in the garbage. Now, let's start off with the reason why some people would be saying that. Well, some people would point to the fact that, in a way, 2019 was a disastrous year. You had many bad omens coming up here in 2019, so let's just quickly cover those. Probably the biggest one that we can't ignore is the fact that there was an exodus of major staff from Privateer Press. When you're having these big names coming from all those top lead roles kind of falling away, that looks really bad for where the company is going. And, even me, Mr. Positivity, when it comes to these things, looked at this and said, oh no, what's going on here? So that wasn't very good. Some other things that people would point to as well is just the fact that where are those people going? Where they went off and they made their own games. Our whole big Marvel Crisis type thing came out. Of course, there's lots of other games to go play as well. So there's lots of competition eating things away. Is the Warmachine stock falling further and further? And even if you look at how the game is currently, CID went through a roller coaster of a ride in 2019. Some of it looking okay, some of it looking horrendous, where we have very rushed rollouts, things where input is just taken totally askew, things going out there being released not the way that they probably should be, and then leading to some very broken models, things that are very overpowered and not looking good for the game, where a lot of people are falling away, a lot of people are quitting, taking a break, and when you look at it from that way, wow. Get that, that coffin ready, start putting those nails, because it's kind of coming on to an end right now. However, if I'm starting with the negative, that's because there's a lot of positive to follow that up with. Now, to kind of follow up where these things are going, let's kind of start from where we started with those negatives. And that's going to be with all the people leaving. One of the things you have to realize with this is that, sure, some big names left, but there's still a lot of big names there. There's still lots of people there who are the heart of this game, came up with a lot of these things of the game that we love, who are still there. And so we can be happy that even though it seemed like, oh my God, this person's leaving, okay, hold your horses. And especially when it came to the fact like, oh, these two people are leaving to make this new game. Okay, sure. When some people leave, they're going to probably go with their friends, or they're starting a company together. Of course, they're leaving at the same time. So when you assess these things, okay, that's probably not a really big deal. Now let's look at that second point where we talked about now there's all these other games competing with Warmachine. And that's something that's not actually wrong. There's going to be lots of competition for Warmachine in 2020. We have, I believe, X-Wing is still the biggest game when you really look at all the factors. And of course, GW, the giant that's been there for decades. And then you have Warmachine that was always kind of fighting for that third spot. But now there's lots of other games trying to fight their way in there too. So when you're looking at other games like Malifaux, that Marvel Crisis one, all these other games, who's going to be really getting there? And part of the problem with this too is the fact that Privateer Press is releasing their own rival games, right? They're coming out with Warcaster this year. They already did Monster Apocalypse. They already did Riot Quest. And so there's a lot of things out there that might pull people away. Now, I think the really great thing for the things that our Privateer Press that are doing for themselves that might not take away as much as we really think is, of course, Riot Quest. All those models can be used in the regular game. So it's really just an additional rule set that you can be using with your regular Warmachine models. So, okay. Monster Apocalypse, completely separate, but okay, that's something that you're competing with. And then this Warcaster one, this is one we don't even know. We don't know where it's going. We don't know what they're doing with it. But if nothing else, it's going to be based around the world of Warmachine, and so if nothing else, there'll be a lot of overlap there, a lot like RideQuest, where I'm sure some models can be shared back and forth and things like this. So I am not worried about that. But let's get into things like we said, like the CID. If CID was such a big mistake, isn't this a spot where we die now in 2020? No, absolutely not. They learned their lessons. Of course, when the CID is first released, they're going to have some bumps and bruises. They're going to have some learnings across the way. And that's exactly what they had. They learned that, okay, if we try and do everything at the same time, all the different factions, that's too much to handle. Let's narrow this down. And then they tried this ridiculously fast schedule, which was not only tough on them, tough on the reviewers, but it's tough on the players. There's just so much change happening. And now they've learned their lesson. They're like, okay, we're going to slow down. We're going to do a couple of these a year type thing. And so really, when you think of that, when you think of where we're coming from, even though it's a negative thing that we saw, now that they've actually learned all those lessons, we can know that we're going into 2020 with them already saying, look, we're not going to have this fast-paced CID. It's going to be a lot more measured, a lot more rolled out. And since we know that they're going to be doing things, like we said, Warcaster releasing here in 2020, they have to slow down because their focus is going to be going in other areas anyway. Now, I also talked about how some models are broken and things are crazy and the game is totally unbalanced. Not true. When we just did a podcast on Shoulda Boosted talking about how all the Archons are way too powerful for what their point should be. But even at that point there, it's like, oh, well, they should be like 10 or 9 points instead of 8. That's not really that bad. When I was having people complaining about some different things here, or something even saying like Fiona is the most powerful caster in the game, it's like, well, how powerful is that? You know, if we think to other times, and I always like referring back to Mark II, because we had some crazy power there. And I know I didn't play in Mark 1, but I know it was even more crazy there. But in Mark 2, what I know, you had super dominant casters like Haley 2, like Denny, the Denny 2 thing that was going on, Bradigus. There were things that were just like, why do I even play? If I face this, I'm just going to lose. And that's not the spot that we're in right now. We are in a spot that, hey, what do you know? Some awesome little Archons are better than some other things you can take, but it's still a very, very even playing field going across all the factions. When you're looking at the top faction to the bottom faction in whatever way you sort it in your mind, it's really not that bad. It's not completely askew. It used to be back in the day that if it was Signar versus Minions, like, why is that Minions guy even there? Like, it's just a joke. This is going to be a slaughter. It's not like that anymore. You know, you don't know who's going to be playing these on either side, what their strategies are, and it's relatively even. Even if they might side, like, oh, this side has a few extra pieces that will give them a benefit, it's not that huge disparity like we used to see. So everybody really needs to stop all this negative naysaying. 2020 is not going to be the year that Warmachine dies. In fact, I am very excited to see where this is going to be going. And another negative that I want to kind of like throw there in the start that I want to more like focus on now is a lot of people will say like, well, just like how those privateer press people were leaving, there's also like other people in your meta. They're going to be leaving. Some big names that have been in the game a long time are now leaving, doing something else. Well, guess what? That's just the way that all games go. People grow up, people get families, people just get interested in other things. Just because one person's a Warmachine player for X number of years, that doesn't mean they're going to be a Warmachine player for their entire life. They're going to do it while it's fun and while it's convenient for them. And guess what? While those people leave, there's a new wave coming in, so don't worry. There's always room for new people to be making a name for themselves, and we're going into a year in 2020 where we have a very balanced rule set with very interesting models in a meta that it is not stable yet. We're in a meta where people are still trying to figure out like what's the right thing to do, what type of builds are out there. Every single time you're going out there, it's a different build. And yet at the same time, we have some interesting things that we know are on incoming here. We know we have the Convergence CID that's going to be coming up. Well, apparently there's going to be some new things going on with Oblivion Oblivion with these new types of Archons coming out. So, and of course, all the different little solos and casters coming out of Riot Quest. I mean, did you see that Sorsha 4? That's crazy. So there's so many interesting things to look forward to, but at the same time, like I said with that whole CID process, knowing that they're slowing things down now, knowing that, okay, we're in a good spot now, we're going to have like a couple of CIDs, and we're just going to cruise through this year and see where it goes. And again, I don't work for Privateer Press. I can't promise these things, but from what I'm hearing from them, this is what they're saying, and this is what we're already kind of seeing, is that the slowdown is happening anyway. So there you have it. If you're a naysayer, get out of here. If you want to play another game, go ahead, go and have fun with it. But if you're a person that loves Warmachine and is looking forward and hoping that you're going to have some fun, rest assured that it is going to be there for you, and it's going to be a blast of a year. So there you have it. If you have any comments, as always, post them down below. And otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.